back.
Hello, everybody. We're up to episode
88.
88. I'll try to keep up. Welcome back. We're the Horror Guys. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brian. And believe it or not, we've got 4 horror movies and a short for you this week.
We kind of have a formula, don't we?
It seems to be the same thing every week, yeah. As usual, these are spoiler-intensive reviews. Got the full summary of most of the movies, along with our opinions on them. Sometimes we play movies that we absolutely love, and unfortunately, sometimes we play movies that we absolutely hate.
But we collect them all.
Gotta watch them all, yes.
And we share them with you.
Pokemon, the horror movie. And you sit there with your bony hands.
I found these at 75% off after Halloween. The most awesome bony life-size hands. They're life-size skeleton hands.
They are. They're very cool.
They are very life-size.
And they're curved cool. So you could put things in them.
Yeah.
As we say on the audio podcast here that no one can see what you're doing.
Yeah, it's sad that this is no longer a video podcast or you'd see how cool these were. But anyway, I'll just sit here the whole time and
rub your bony hands on yourself.
Hold my bony hands.
All right. Nothing creepy about that. Nothing weird going on there.
No, not at all.
But speaking of weird stuff going on,
what do we got?
Mad Love.
A classic from 1935.
A whole lot different than what I was expecting on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Demons of the Mind, a psychological thriller from Hammer. A short film, Halloween Rewind, Season of the Glitch. Remember that Halloween 3 movie that wasn't like the other Halloweens?
I remember that.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
It's back. We're finally getting around to doing Hush from 2016.
We've been talking about that one for a long time.
It just never fits in the schedule.
Time ago.
And we're going to, unfortunately, not complete the Omen series with the Omen III, the not really final conflict.
They called it the final conflict.
They should have stopped with the third one.
They kept going, yeah. They should have stopped with the books even, too. There's a fourth book, which is completely different than the fourth movie. And neither fourth is very good, in my opinion.
I didn't know that there were any books.
Oh, yeah. There was a book beyond.
Were the books first, or were they movie novelizations?
Pretty sure they were books first. Or at least the first one was a book first. I know for certain. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The second and third, they might have been novelizations of the movie. I'm not sure.
That's the problem with these old movies. They're always out of print by now. So if you wanted to read it, you couldn't.
I bet you could find it.
Like Logan's Run. It is really hard to find that book.
Can find lots of used copies, paperback, but it's not in print.
Not cheap, though.
You don't find a new one.
Yeah,
not anywhere.
But if you are looking for cheap new books...
Well, do you have some cheap new books?
There's a couple of books just came out.
There's new books right here in Brian's hand.
HorrorGuys.com Guide to Universal Studios Shock Theater.
Brian made books.
I did.
They're beautiful in paperback. You can also get the ebook copy if you want.
And it says here on the back of this one, the first book includes viewing synopses of all 52 original Shock films, including the few non-horror films and even a few gems that are rarely seen today. Each film has some trivia and commentary. By examining each film in chronological release order, we can see how tastes, values, budgets, and even special effects grew through the 2 decades these films were produced. And this starts out with 1920-somethings Phantom of the Opera and goes all the way up into the later on. The last one in the book is... what is the last one in the book? It's on page 191.
Danger
Woman. A movie that was not as nearly as entertaining as it sounds from the title.
Yeah, the title was the most exciting part of that one.
And then the second book, the HorrorGuys.com Guide to Universal Studios' Son of Shock. And this one includes all 20 of the Son of Shock movies and includes about 27 other influential Universal films. Between the 2 books, we talk about 99 films, mostly black and white. All of them Universal, and some of them are super classics. You pick these up now on Amazon, or if you go to HorrorGuys.com/books, You can find links to all the other places: Barnes & Noble, Scribd, Kobo, Apple, or wherever you buy your books.
Wherever fine books are sold.
Paperback and or ebooks available. Yeah, so that's the new thing this week.
Yeah.
And now for something really old.
Mad Love from 1935.
Peter Lorre.
Black and white. Peter Lorre being extremely Peter Lorre-ish.
Yeah. He had his first big breakout role was in M in 1931. So this was only a couple years after that, and he was already in a lot of starring roles. That M movie really took off his career. Directed by Carl Freund, written by Maurice Renard, Florence Crew Jones, stars Peter Lorre, Francis Drake, Colin Clive, hour and 8 minutes. Did you like it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did too.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed this one. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a modern-made trailer, which usually make these older movies look a lot more exciting than they are. When somebody makes like a remix trailer.
And you're always skeptical when you see those.
Yeah, and it looked really good in the trailer.
Yeah, but it did turn out being really good.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell the nice people about it?
Well, the opening shot opens on a body hanging outside. But then we see it's just a prop for the theater of horrors. Dr. Gogol is a famous doctor, and he's attended 47 straight showings of the play Ivan Orlak is in.
Obsession.
Seems to be. Ivan, backstage, listens to her husband, a famous pianist, on the radio, then rushes out to do her show at the horror theater. She is the torturee, a victim of the villain's torture devices in the play. So this is a Chamber of Horrors kind of thing, and they torture the woman on stage. It's all an act, of course. But Dr. Gogol sits out in the audience, and he likes seeing this torture play.
And he likes her a lot.
A lot.
Yeah. So it's kind of a combination between a haunted horror, attraction and a theater. It's kind of a strange combination, which I wondered if that was a common thing back then. Instead of going through a haunted house kind of attraction.
Watch the torture chamber.
It's like a combination. Yeah, I mean, it was like a play with a story, but it was, clearly like a scene out of a haunted house horror scene, where you'd walk through.
Yeah, I mean, this was not like a play where you'd see Shakespeare or something like that. This was the haunted, what do they call the theater of horrors.
Yeah.
It's dedicated to this.
Uh-huh. An immersive experience.
Yeah. Well, everyone at the theater knows Gogol. He's almost single-handedly kept the play open by buying the box seat every night. Yvonne explains to him that she's moving to England with her husband.
And he doesn't like that.
He didn't even know she was married after all this time. Gogol explains that I've come to depend on seeing you every night. The theater group is throwing her a farewell party, and this has been her final performance. Gogol offers to buy the wax statue of Yvonne before it's destroyed.
Yeah, there's a wax statue out in the lobby. It's an exact replica of her.
In reality, it's the real actress standing there, pretending to be a statue.
And for most of the shots, they did use an actual, but yeah, for the close-ups and where you actually see her face, it's actually her.
I guess the budget didn't allow for a very good real wax reproduction.
And this way, it looks completely realistic.
Yeah.
Which comes important later.
Oh, yeah, it does.
When it looks so realistic and convincing.
Too realistic. Yvonne's husband, Stephen, is coming to town by train, and also aboard the train is Rollo, a convicted knife murderer, brought aboard in chains. Mr. Reagan, an American reporter, is in town to cover Rollo's guillotine execution. Dr. Gogol is also invited to the execution. The reporter and Yvonne are waiting for the train, but they hear that the train has derailed on the way there. We see Rollo being led away from the train, but Stephen needs both his hands amputated. He's a pianist, remember?
Yeah, that's not good.
Yvonne insists that Stephen be taken to Dr. Gogol, whom she believes can save Stephen's hands.
Because even though he is kind of whacked, he is a brilliant
He's
surgeon,
the best there is.
Brilliant doctor, yeah.
The next morning, they lead Rollo to the guillotine, and that goes off easily, as planned. Gogol enjoys the show, while Reagan is nearly sick at the sight.
Yeah, that was kind of darkly amusing how the subtlety of his acting. You could see how the pleasure on his
He
face.
likes this torture stuff.
We didn't see the actual execution. We saw their reactions. And it was pretty awesome.
That face when.
Yeah.
So when Gogol gets back to his office, Ivan and Stephen are waiting for his help. His assistant says that the surgery is impossible, which gets Gogol all excited. Now he's motivated. He wants to transplant Rollo's hands onto Stephen. It's the first successful hand transplant ever.
Science fiction at the time.
Yeah. Afterwards, Gogol discusses Pygmalion and Galatea with a wax figure of Ivan. He wants the figure to come to life, like in that play. But, of course, that's not possible. Sometime later, Stephen and Ivan are enjoying their spring in Paris. His hands are still bandaged, but not for much longer. Gogol cuts off the bandages, and the hands are going to be fine with some time and effort.
Yeah, I need some therapy.
They go deeply into debt for rehab and physical therapy. Stephen starts to give up on his recovery. We see that he is very good at throwing sharp objects.
Just like the knife.
Just like Rollo the knife
guy.
murderer, yeah. Stephen goes to see his father for financial help. His father is an ass about it. Once again, his first response is to throw a knife. Meanwhile, Ivan begs Gogol to help, and he admits his undying lust for her. But she can't reciprocate in any way. Even if it weren't for Stephen, there's something about you that frightens me, she explains. Yeah, because he's a torture-loving creep.
Yeah.
And a stalker.
Mm-hmm.
And a wax doll buyer.
Yeah.
And a hand transplanter. Yeah, he's a weird one. So the maid tells Reagan about the dummy, but Reagan thinks she's talking about Rollo's corpse. Stephen complains about his hands to Gogol. His hands want to throw knives. He realizes later that if Stephen found out about his hands, then he might consider committing murder himself. He then forcefully comes on to Ivan, who does not respond well. He then goes into surgery and walks out on the middle of an operation on a little girl due to being so upset. His assistant has to finish the procedure. Which turns out okay.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it didn't seem to be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Gogol kills Stephen's father, and Stephen is blamed because everyone saw him throw the knife earlier in the day. Stephen is blamed. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
Stephen gets a call from a man with metal hands. Stephen was given this man's hands. It's really Dr. Gogol in disguise.
In a very good disguise, too.
It's a really cool looking disguise.
Yeah, that was
Got
cool.
the sort of Dr. Doom thing going on there. Later that night, Stephen is arrested for the murder. The police are confused because Stephen's fingerprints are identical to the dead man Rollo.
And how does that work? Yeah.
Ivan goes to see Gogol, and the drunken maid thinks it's the waxwork come to life and ushers her upstairs to see the original. She accidentally breaks the statue as Gogol arrives home. Still dressed as Rollo, he arrives home still dressed as Rollo. Ivan is trapped in the room with him and ends up standing very still, taking the place of the dummy. Gogol explains everything to the wax dummy. Oops.
Yeah, spills the beans.
Stephen, Reagan, and the chief of police get together, and they work out a lot of the details. Meanwhile, Gogol figures out that Ivan is alive, and he thinks it's magic. The statue has come to life. You came to life for me, he says. Gogol starts to choke Ivan with her own hair. The police can't get into the room, but Stephen is able to throw a knife at Gogol's back, killing him.
Because he's good at that now.
Yeah, it's his thing.
Yeah.
Well, Peter Lorre, playing someone obsessed and weird? Huh.
He's good at that.
Huh. Having Frances Drake play her own wax dummy was a brilliant way to get a reasonable wax dummy appearance with zero budget.
Mm-hmm.
She's obviously real, even though she's supposed to be a wax dummy. The plot is really nothing we haven't seen many times since, but the performances are all really excellent, and the cinematography is really good as well. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, for such an old one, it's actually really good. I hesitate to say it's better than Dracula.
Blasphemer.
This first successful transplant of anything, the first successful transplant of anything, was a kidney in 1954. But they were able to do livers, hearts, and pancreases by the 1960s.
Yeah, so in 1935, a hand transplant was strictly sci-fi.
I don't know. Did hands come after the internal organs?
Oh yeah, way after.
Hands seem much more
Yeah,
complicated.
yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, way sci-fi, 35, 40 years ahead.
The realm of mad science.
Except it wasn't.
Yeah.
Speaking of mad, next up is Hammer Film, Demons of the Mind, directed by Peter Sykes, written by Christopher Wicking, stars Robert Hardy, Shane Bryant, Gillian Hills, hour and 29 minutes. And did you like this one?
Not very much.
Yeah.
It was weird and all over the place, and yeah, just generally no, not very much.
Yeah, I got a good summary on this one. You can just stick with no.
Okay, yeah.
I'll make up for your lack of detail.
Okay, yeah.
Well, the coachman drives down the misty forest lane. Inside, the governess makes the young girl drink something from a cup, which zonks her right out and makes her hallucinate. That's the kind of governess to have.
Mm-hmm.
She dreams of Carl, a boy wearing glasses, and in the dream she has a locket with another boy's picture in it. She has sex with Carl, and is then kidnapped by the coachman and the woman in the coach. It seems that this dream was a flashback to the very recent past. The coach finally arrives at a big house, where we see the boy from the locket, Emil, on the second floor. The governess says to Elizabeth, the girl, "You're not going back to that sanatorium. You're home."
Yay!
Emil and Elizabeth are brother and sister, and possibly a couple.
Incest.
Incest. Their father, Zorn, wants the two of them to get well again. They do both look quite sickly. Magda, one of the local women, goes for a walk in the woods and sees someone following her. Whoever it is kills her and then covers her body with rose petals. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
A priest comes to the area, talking to himself and babbling about having work to do. Zorn spots him in a spyglass and thinks he recognizes him from somewhere. The governess does a strange procedure to make Elizabeth bleed and then pulls blood from her into a glass. We can see the scars and know that this isn't the first time.
So, bloodletting treatment?
Vampires?
Or something more sinister?
We don't know.
Yeah.
Dr. Falkenberg is coming by carriage, and he brings young Carl along with him. Falkenberg has been let go from his teaching job in Vienna for mysterious reasons. They go too fast and the wagon rolls over. The young assistant goes for help, but Falkenberg continues on to Zorn's house. Zorn yells at Falkenberg for not getting there sooner. We see Zorn dumping Magda's body in the lake to cover up the killing. Falkenberg has developed some kind of mystical machine that Zorn thinks will kill the evil in his blood. Insanity and incest are part of the Zorn's family history. Falkenberg hypnotizes Zorn. Zorn says he sees himself as an evil demon of the forest, and that he would die a ritual death as his ancestors did. He fears his children have inherited his evil blood. Well, next morning there's a ritual in town. All is well, we can't get through the fires of hell. They chant over and over. The priest comes to town and screams that the demon walks again. Back at the house, Emil and Elizabeth share a warm embrace. Carl finally gets to the house to see Elizabeth. Zorn warns Carl to stay away from Elizabeth. Carl knows that Zorn is bleeding her. Falkenberg still insists that he can cure Elizabeth's sickness. Carl knows that Falkenberg is a fraud and tells Zorn all about it. Zorn doesn't care about any of that if Falkenberg can cure his children.
See, it has a lot going on.
It really is very complicated.
It's a very densely packed script. And yet...
And we're only about at the halfway point.
Yet it wasn't that entertaining. I don't know. They just managed to not... Yeah.
Yeah, the priest...
I think they tried to cram in too much.
Yeah. The priest runs out of the woods and into Carl. He needs help battling demons. Everyone just wanders about the castle babbling about nonsense for nearly an hour. That one sentence just covered half the movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
Somehow or another, it is revealed that Zorn is subconsciously causing all the drama between Emil and Elizabeth. Somehow or another. I forget because...
reasons.
Boring. Emil chases Elizabeth out into the woods. See, all that description, that sounds pretty good. It doesn't sound that bad.
Don't believe that.
But then there's an hour of blah, 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 blah. And then Emil chases Elizabeth out into the woods. She screams that she's not Elizabeth, but Emil then kills her in the woods and scatters roses over her body. The real Elizabeth is asleep at home. He's just killed another random villager. He returns home and kills his aunt, the maid. Falkenberg then says Zorn's dreams are causing this reality. His guilt over his wife's suicide led to all of this. The villagers watch Zorn disposing of this body as well. Emil wakes up out in the forest and runs off looking for Elizabeth. Karl comes in and finds Aunt Hilda's body. Emil attacks him, but Elizabeth intervenes. Zorn shoots Falkenberg and then chases after the children through the woods. Karl also goes out looking to stop the impending murder. The villagers, of course, have found the bodies in the lake, and they know it was Zorn. The priest lights a big burning cross and yells that they should kill Zorn. Finally, the villagers decide to listen to the priest. Zorn shoots Emil in the back, killing him. He's also about to shoot Elizabeth when Karl jumps in from behind, but Karl can't stop him. The villagers finally catch up and impale him with a flaming cross. The end.
That looked painful.
It did. It was a big fat, it was like a telephone pole size cross.
What's worse than getting impaled with a cross? A flaming cross.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah. Well, there's a lot going on here. Almost too much happening to follow without a little more explanation. A bunch of random-seeming, disjointed stuff happens for the first hour or so, with very little tying it together. Then there's about an hour-long section about halfway through where literally nothing interesting takes place. Patrick McGee is Falkenberg, who really comes off as a Karloff wannabe here. He looks like him, he talks like him, and he acts like him. I swear they said get Karloff and they couldn't afford him.
Mm-hmm.
He talks similarly, looks similarly, and plays exactly the same kind of role.
Budget Karloff.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, Karloff had died 2 years prior to this. That's probably why they couldn't get him.
I suppose that's a legitimate excuse.
And it's as if Hammer was trying to have their own version here. All I can say is this boring abomination should be avoided at all costs. There's really nothing going on here to merit wasting the 89-minute investment. If for some reason you want to drag out 90 minutes to make it feel like double that, a little time travel experiment, then by all means search out this boring-ass travesty.
Wow, harsh. You really harshed on it.
It deserved
it. But you listened to me disagreeing.
I'm not going to say it's the worst Hammer movie.
No.
But it's definitely in the top 3. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not a good one. But moving on to something that we did really like. There's Halloween Rewind, Season of the Glitch.
3 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 3 more days till Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Everyone remembers that.
If you don't, you
Halloween
do now.
3, classic, yeah. And may I just say that if you haven't seen this movie already, that it only has, I'm looking at their YouTube page, it only has 509 views.
Well, on YouTube.
And on YouTube.
Oh, Glitch. Oh, the short, yeah.
Yeah. There's only 509 views, and their Gold City Video channel, which just has this one video, has only 17 subscribers.
Yeah, get them some views.
And
take a look at this one. It's good.
Go and watch this and like it and subscribe. And
8 minutes, and I was surprised that there's so few views on it, and I don't know how we heard about it, but it's good.
Hopefully this production company, if they are a production company, Gold City Video, will make more.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
This one's directed by Trent Tom, stars Beecher G. Britt, Dylan Bunn, Travis Anderson, and Steve Casey. 8 minutes, 11 seconds. Link in the show notes, or just go to horrorguys.com and find it, and you can watch it right on our site if you want. Link goes to their YouTube channel. So, remember Halloween 3, Season of the Witch? The one with the old toy maker who sells Halloween masks that are really, really evil? The one that doesn't have Michael Myers in it?
Yep.
You remember the good Halloween film?
The Year No One Comes Home.
Okay, I can't say that. I liked the first 2 Halloween movies.
Oh, yeah, very
and
much
then the
so.
third one was very different.
The third one was out of the blue, like, what? This isn't, wow, different.
I think they confused a lot of people with that.
Yeah.
But looking back on Halloween 3 by itself and forgetting all the other Halloween films, it's very good all by itself.
I've seen it multiple times and have enjoyed it every time.
Yes, it really is worth seeing. Just Yeah, maybe not along with the other Halloween
It's
films.
more of a sci-fi horror, touch of sci-fi to it.
It's really good.
Yeah, it is.
It's just very different. It didn't belong in that series.
Yeah, it's not the slasher film type.
Yeah. Even though if you don't remember the plot, you remember that song. Because they play it so many times. Well, that all really happened 30 years ago, but it's become more or less an urban legend. Until one evening, a guy visits a retro type video store and finds a copy of the film. He's overjoyed until the guy behind the counter also offers him one of the original masks. What could go wrong?
Shamrock Corporation.
Yeah. Okay, well, we both liked it a lot. It asks the legitimate question of what would happen if something like that had actually happened. Of course, the leftover stuff would be immensely collectible.
And would it still work? Here's the question.
But there's got to be a lot of those silver shamrock masks that, out in the public. You can pick them up at like cons and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to have one of those masks myself, and I fully realize it's just a movie. But how much more fun would it be if it had actually happened?
Yeah. So all in all, this is a big thumbs up from both of us.
Yeah. A what if it was real type thing. So,
Hush.
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 Hush. For 2016.
2016's Hush movie, directed by Mike Flanagan, written by Mike Flanagan and Kate Siegel, stars John Gallagher Jr., Kate Siegel, Michael Trucco. 1 hour, 22 minutes, and this one's available on Netflix. Did you like it?
It was okay. I give it a solid 6. Liked it more than dislike it, but didn't love it. And what did you think of it?
Jury's still out on that one.
Okay.
If you think about it too hard, it makes 0 sense.
Don't think about it.
Although, as far as stalker films go, which is my least favorite genre of horror, it's all right. It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. I think it went on too long.
Yep. Well, we see a regular day in Maddie's life. She's deaf, lives alone, and relies on her iPhone and computer for many things. She's friends with her next-door neighbor, Sarah, who recently finished reading Maddie's new book. Maddie writes books. She didn't write Son of Shock, I might point out.
No. You wrote that.
Yeah. Maddie's not a good cook, and she burns her dinner badly. Craig, whom we assume is Maddie's ex, keeps trying to phone her, but she repeatedly ignores his call.
Oh, and that was a Chekhov's moment, too, when she burns her dinner. Her smoke alarm goes off.
And she doesn't hear it.
Which she doesn't hear, but it is incredibly loud, and she knows it's incredibly loud, but it's also got hypnotically bright flashing lights on it, too. And I was thinking, even at that point when we hadn't seen the killer yet, I was thinking, oh, she's so going to distract him or use that against him to dazzle him or blind him or deafen him or both, or,
Huh. Imagine that.
Yeah, that even that soon in the movie, I was thinking, that's Chekhov's smoke detector.
If you show a smoke detector in the first third of a movie, you know it's going to go off in the final
Well, that
third.
one is just so blatant. It's not a subtle detector at all.
Okay, so her ex keeps trying to call her. That night, Maddie cleans the kitchen while Sarah pounds on the back door, screaming for help 3 feet away from her. Maddie, of course, doesn't hear anything because her back is turned, and a masked killer slices Sarah up just outside Maddie's kitchen door in plain sight of Maddie. Maddie doesn't see a thing, but the killer watches her for a good long time. The killer gets inside the house, and he sneaks up behind her, but then her FaceTime rings, and he has to back off before he is seen on the phone. Then she starts getting messages on her computer that were taken with her own phone, just seconds ago. The calls are coming from inside the house.
Yes, they are.
She knows someone in the house is doing it, but she can't find him. She finally sees him outside, and she locks all the doors.
Too late.
Well, he cuts the wires and the power goes off, so she can't use her Wi-Fi to call 911 anymore. He slashes her tires, so she can't drive away. She writes a message. Won't tell. Didn't see your face. Boyfriend coming home soon. And he just stands there and takes the mask off. Well, she's seen his face now.
Yeah, so much for that plan.
See, now I was expecting all along it to turn out to be the boyfriend or the ex-boyfriend or, somebody that we've seen already.
No, they ruined that suspense right away.
Yeah, he takes his mask off like 20 minutes in.
And
so
it's not anybody she knows.
it could have been suspenseful, but no, it's just some guy.
Yeah.
Well, she remembers Sarah had her cell phone in her pocket, so she sets off her car alarm as a distraction. While the killer is disabling the alarm, Maddie goes out after Sarah's phone. She doesn't get the phone, but there's a lot of cat and mouse in the dark. He comes out of a crossbow out of somewhere, like wherever Bugs Bunny gets his, I guess, just pulls it out of his butt, and tries to shoot her in the woods, but she makes it back to the house. She gets the crossbow away from him and sees 12 or 14 little hash marks, one for each of his previous victims.
That is the implication.
John, Sarah's husband, arrives looking for Sarah. The man pretends to be a deputy, and he has John fooled until John sees one of Sarah's earrings fall out of the man's pocket. He sees Maddie pounding on the windows inside, and the man knifes John to death. Oops, over with that. Maddie then starts having internal conversations with herself. She shoots the man with a crossbow, but not fatally, so he destroys her hand in the door jamb. He grabs a crowbar and still has trouble getting in through the glass door. And here's where it kind of loses me. It's a big glass patio door.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a crowbar.
It's really tough.
And can't get it open.
It's really, really tough.
He's not trying to be quiet. He's not trying to be subtle.
He doesn't need to be at this point.
He could break the glass in any one of 100 windows in this house. Break the glass with that crowbar and crawl in. Does he do that? No, because he's stupid.
That would be unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cheating.
All right, so somehow he goes into the bathroom without her noticing and hides behind her. Now she goes in the bathroom, and it's light. She looks all around the room. She looks behind the shower curtain, and this room is empty. She then turns around and faces the door so that she can see if anybody comes in, and in the very next shot, he's suddenly behind her. There are no mirrors in the bathroom. What, did he teleport? Is she blind too? No, it's stupid.
And what kind of bathroom has no mirrors?
And there's no mirrors, yes. Actually, I think there was a mirror, but it was behind her.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So anyway, he gets in the bathroom without her noticing and hides right behind her. She stabs him in the leg and then runs. She then shoots him in the face with Wasp Killer and sets off her, what?
Her smoke detector.
Her smoke
with
detector.
The flashing lights and incredibly loud, buzzy noise.
And in the confusion, she kills him with a corkscrew to the neck. She then takes her phone out of the dead man's pocket and calls 911. The end.
Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, he was in the house, standing behind her when he stole her phone to play with her. Why did he go back outside and let her lock him out?
Because he was cat and mouse in her.
And he knew there were no neighbors to hear broken glass. Why didn't he just pick up a rock, or the crowbar, or the crossbow, or a shoe, or any other way of breaking through those great big glass doors?
That would be less sporting. I don't know. Yeah.
Didn't work out so well for him in the end.
No, it didn't. No.
Well, between the MacBook, iPhone, FaceTime, Apple Pages, and other Apple products,
Do you think there was some product placement there?
I wonder if this film needed any audience at all to break even, or if the sponsorships covered everything. Yeah, I've never seen so many obvious Apple things in a movie before. Still, the use of technology here does add to the creepiness. Once he gets her phone, he knows everything there is to know about Maddie, and why a single deaf girl living alone out in the isolated countryside doesn't have a gun for protection, I do not know.
Would have been a good idea.
They're far enough out in the woods, animals could be a thing. You'd want a gun.
Yeah, I would think so.
I get it. A lot of people don't like guns, but if you live in the forest, it's a tool. You need it.
Yeah.
I do like that it had some surprises. You'd expect that toward the end of the film, the killer would rip off the mask and reveal that it's the ex-boyfriend or someone known. But no, the lunatic shows his face very early on, and it's just some random guy. Unfortunately, once you see the guy's face, the film starts to drag. He's got her trapped in the house, and she wants out, with one little plan after another being foiled, all with no dialogue at all.
Yeah, it had long stretches. There's nobody talking.
There are over 70 minutes without a single spoken word. For some reason, the man refused to break a window to come in. He has dozens of opportunities, but never even tried. At one point, Matty rolls up a window and the man slams his head on it in utter defeat after a chase. He had a hammer in his belt and a crossbow in his other hand. If he'd wanted in, he would have gotten in. This dragged out to the point where it's tedious, boring, and just, did I say stupid?
You did, I think.
I did. I don't believe I used that word.
Well, I don't know as far as going tedious and boring, but I mean, it was only an hour and 22 minutes, and yet it still managed to seem too long.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Not a winner.
Not great.
A 6, like I say. Yeah.
I'll go with a 6.
Yeah.
Well, going from a 6 to 3, how about the Omen III, The Final Conflict?
From 1981.
Yeah, directed by Graham Baker, written by David Seltzer and Andrew Birkin, stars Sam Neill, Rossano Brazzi, Don Gordon, Hour 48.
I saw this at the theater when it came out.
So did I. I liked the second one at the theater, and of course I eagerly waited for the third one.
Uh-huh.
And this was it. And at the time, I really didn't like it.
Oh, I did, yeah. And at the time, I remember, hey, that's Sam Neill. He's a really good actor. Remember, that's the first time I noticed him.
Yeah, I think it was the first time I noticed him, too. It's his
Well, I
first
think
big
it was
role.
his first big thing.
Yeah. So you did like it?
And he's been big since then. Yes. Yes, I did. I liked it a lot.
In Chicago, an excavating machine recovers 7 indestructible iron daggers.
The ones that got blown up in the museum last time. They're excavating the under the museum.
Funny, one person found all 7 instead of like 7 different people taking them home. That would have made it very difficult.
Yes.
The workman sells them to a pawn shop, which eventually goes up for auction. He passes them on to a priest who takes them to Subiaco, Italy. It's the same church where the burned priest lived in the first film.
And that's really a pretty awesome opening montage, the way they do that.
Yeah, it goes from person to person, passing on.
Mm-hmm.
We see a short film concerning famine, war, and mass destruction, called by some Armageddon, all of which is being controlled by Thorn Industries. Damien hates the ad, and he wants to see what Thorn Industries does, not be told about it. Damien tells his secretary, Harvey Dean, that he expects that soon the president will offer him the ambassadorship to Great Britain. Damien has been in charge of the company for 7 years, as prophesied. The new Christ child will be born in England, and he wants to be there to do battle. So he's not being subtle with this right now.
No, he knows who he is.
His inner circle knows all about it.
Yeah, he's fully embraced it, and those around him have too.
Yeah, there's no subtle babysitters or accidents. Yeah, everybody knows. Well, he knows. The current American ambassador gets stared at by a black dog and then walks to his building, goes up to his office, calls for a press conference. He rigs things up so when the reporters open the door, a shotgun will blow his own head off. The photographers get some really fresh photos that afternoon. Suddenly, the president needs to appoint a new ambassador.
And who is it going to be?
Damien accepts the position for 2 years as he plans to run for Senate in 2 years. He also demands to be the chairman for the UN, United Nations Youth Council. Get 'em while they're young.
Yep.
Meanwhile, a group of astronomers are watching a strange alignment of stars that have recently started moving more quickly. They're going to align over England on March 24th. That is to be the birth of the new Nazarene child. They must try to kill the Antichrist before that birth, and definitely before the child can be revealed.
Well, not these priests. I mean, these are the good guys watching that.
Yeah.
But Damien and his people know.
No, these are the good priests. They must try to kill the Antichrist.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the good guys.
Yeah, because they know the Antichrist is going to go after the baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the 7 monks arm themselves with the daggers and head out, each on their own mission to kill Damien. They know who Damien really is, and they plan to kill him with the daggers. So each priest ends up with a knife, and they each go out separately to kill Damien. Of course, in the first movie, they explain... Who was it that explained this?
Bugenhagen.
Bugenhagen.
Not Copenhagen. Bugenhagen.
Best thing in the movie. But Bugenhagen in the original movie explained that you have to use all 7 daggers to kill Damien. One won't do it. But suddenly the rules have changed that each of the 7 priests gets a dagger and they go their separate ways.
Well, the rules didn't change. I think they didn't know. And actually in the 4th...
So the plan would not have worked anyway.
In the 4th book, they do explain that more.
Okay, no spoilers there.
Okay.
Harvey Dean introduces Kate Reynolds, a British reporter, to Damien. She wants to interview him. Damien and Kate go for a walk, and they overhear one of those sidewalk preachers who is saying a lot of truth that Damien doesn't want to know. One of the monks is following Damien. The priest decides to kill Damien during the TV interview. The priest walks way out on a catwalk, falls, and burns to death in front of everyone in a very Final Destination kind of accident. Damien sees the dagger, and he knows what's up.
I think he suspected before then that they were stalking him.
Yeah.
But that confirmed it for him.
He then makes a long prayer and monologue just so we can see that he really is that evil.
Yeah, he's even got a life-size statue of the first Christ and rants and raves to it like it's alive. And yeah, that's pretty awesome, that scene.
It's a one-sided argument.
Yeah.
The surviving monks and astronomers watch as the three stars converge. Damien wakes up as it happens. The next morning, Damien tells Harvey that the Nazarene was born last night. He plans to hunt down the child. He sees one of the priests outside and follows him all the way back to the monastery. The other two priests see Damien and stab him to death. But it was an illusion. They stabbed the old priest.
Oh, Damien, he's a wily one.
These two priests then crawl into some kind of dungeon and can't get out again. Ever. Damien has found 4 of the daggers, and he wants to kill all the children born on that day.
Yeah, during that range of hours, he figures that's the only way he can get the Christ child. So kill them all.
He is
evil.
Harvey's happy because it turns out his son was born just 10 minutes before that date.
Well, lucky. Yeah.
Lucky him.
Or is that true?
Well, that's what the papers say.
Saying that, yeah.
Well, there's a fox hunt, and one of the priests has set a trap for Damien. He uses a second fox to split Damien from the crowd, and then they trap Damien on a bridge. Damien spooks the horse the man is on, and he is thrown off the bridge. He then orders dozens of hunting dogs to kill the second assassin, and now there's only 1 dagger left.
Uh-oh.
He then goes to some kind of large amphitheater where all his followers, hundreds of them, are waiting for a speech. He orders them to find and slay the Nazarene. Harvey calls various people to arrange to murder all the babies from March 24th. Babies all over town start dying with a little help from his friends. Father DiCarlo, the final priest, contacts Kate. He tells her everything and even includes the baby's birth certificates. Kate's son starts following DiCarlo and reporting to Damien. Harvey's wife reads the papers and learns what he's been doing to the babies. The priest tells her everything. Damien and Kate have sex. Damien specifically orders Harvey to kill his own child. Harvey rushes home, telling his wife to start packing. He wants to make a run for it. Instead, his wife Barbara hits him in the face with an iron, killing him after killing their own baby.
Oh, and that was because one of the demon dogs hypnotized her.
Yeah, apparently we don't see the dead baby, so I never quite understood this one on my first viewing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did kill her own baby, and then she killed him as revenge. DiCarlo lures Damien to an old church and accidentally stabs Kate's son. Kate gets angry and stabs Damien with the magic dagger. He staggers around a bit and then dies. Over way too quick for a trilogy.
I think maybe they might have planned a 4th movie and never, a 4th movie did happen, but not the right 4th movie.
Final conflict and all the prophecies were... I don't think they planned a 4th one.
Don't think so? Yeah.
And if you look at the 4th movie, you can tell that kind of came later.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, it did not flow smoothly. Mm-hmm. Well, Damien's evil monologue in his altar room is pretty cool, but it's also a little hokey. His later speech to the crowd on the island is way over the top and way too hammy also.
No, I didn't. I thought they were fine.
If you're going to be the devil, why not be hammy? Have a little fun with it.
Oh, I think he was. Yeah,
Need a lot of demonic chanting, and a few little devil dances and all that good stuff. It's a little draggy in the middle. Damien spends way too much time reacting to the numerous priests, and he doesn't actually do very much until it's time to kill the babies. And even then, he just orders it to be done. Damien doesn't do much. It's ridiculously obvious that Harvey is lying about the birth date of his child, and that makes it way too obvious that a betrayal of some sort is heading Damien's way.
And sure enough.
The other 2 films make it clear that it takes all 7 daggers to kill Damien, yet Kate only uses 1 here. Still, it also clearly looks like Damien has died here, And it took 10 more years for an eventual sequel, so I guess we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did like it. I think it was the weakest of the three, but it was decent.
I think they could take the fourth book and make a fourth movie and just pretend that other fourth movie didn't happen. I'd like that.
I'd like that. Yeah. Fourth movie. We'll talk about the fourth movie next week.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We're both strongly opinionated on that one. Well, that's our show. Thanks for joining us. Stop in during the week at our website, horrorguys.com, for news and horror updates, comment on this podcast, read our reviews, or buy our books. Get ready for next week when we'll be watching some more classics. We'll begin with Dracula, AD 1972 from, believe it or not, 1972. House of Dark Shadows from 1970. Night of Dark Shadows from 1971. And Omen IV, The Awakening from 1991.
Now, if you notice the dark shadows in those movie titles, it's spin-offs from the TV series / soap opera.
Barnabas Collins in the first movie and Quentin Collins in the second movie.
They movieized them. Yeah.
Yeah. With varying results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll talk more about that.
Yes, we will.
Next week.
See ya.
See ya.